Okay, thank you, Julian. So today I'm going to talk about the many in Old Chinese. So it's really happy to see many scholars in Old Chinese studies. So I'm going to talk about the word for many today. So I don't know. Okay, yeah, okay. So here's my outline. So background about some basic data for word for dual, many, and a T-type and L-type hypothesis and association connections of dual. And then, and the previous reconstructions. And I'm gonna propose a new idea, which is contamination of dual and ʔl'aal. And then I'm gonna talk about a little bit about the ʔl'aal and ʔl'aal. And then I just introduce the example of contracted form of dual. And then last, I'm going to talk about the word for dual. So, so as you know, the word for many is a part of basic word, which is called in 核心词 in Chinese. But the reconstruction of the initial of dual remains an open question. So we're struggling with the reconstruction. So here's the basic data. So based on Middle Chinese, the word for dual has voices T, and then it suggests that though its initial came from the voices positive T in Middle Old Chinese, but philological evidence such as association connections indicates that the initial of many might have had the liquid L in Old Chinese. So this irregularity patterns presents a significant challenge because the Middle Chinese T cannot be derived from the Old Chinese L. So consequently, so including me, many scholars have struggled with the reconstruction. So based on the association connections, it has been proposed that the Middle Chinese phonological categories known as Sherin and Shijing derived from at least 2 or 3 distinct onset in Old Chinese. So here's some example. So these initials are referred to as T-type and L-type. So as you can see, so-called T-type has association connections with Duan and T, and a Zhi, letter reflects T, and a Ji, Zhangmu and Changmu, but doesn't have association connections with Chuan. Whereas type L-type series doesn't have Duan, Ji, Zhang, Chan, but has association connections with Chuan and Yi. So this is a basic idea for L-type hypothesis. I believe most of scholars in all the Chinese studies agree with this idea. And then, so Dan is T-type. So Dan itself has a T onset in all the Chinese, but doesn't have Chuan. So we can reconstruct them like T or D or something like that. So type A changed to Duanmu in Middle Chinese, and type B, D changed to Changmu or something like that. And then let's take a look at the Dui. Doesn't have association connections with Duan, Ji, Zhang, Chan, but has Yue, Yimu. So easy, we can reconstruct the liquid for them. So Shuo belongs to the Shumu in Middle Chinese, so we can reconstruct the type B voice as L and it change to Shumu, kind of like that. And so this L-type hypothesis is supported by several expert documents, including Chujian and Qinjian. And I wrote a paper in 2009, and I proposed that the characters of T-type series only represent words belonging to the T-type category through phonetic long, and I do not represent the words within the L-type series and vice versa. So the true bamboo slips are believed to date back to the mid-warring state period. So it suggests that T-type and L-type had not yet merged at the time. So this is a kind of a important thing. So let's take a look at the association connections of dual. So as you can see, Do itself belongs to Tuamu, and then Do has association connections with Imu. So this is a kind of problem. So as you can see, so this association connections is inconsistent with the distribution patterns of the both T-type and the A-type series, as I mentioned above. So based only on association connections, it is not possible determine whether the word for many comes from T-type or L-type. So we cannot decide whether the word for many comes from T or L. So this is the kind of problem. So let's take a look at the previous reconstructions. So Carlgren, Wang Li, Fanggui, and Baxter 1992 reconstructed the T. And I remember Baxter 1992 based on the comparative data from Tibet-Burman, and then reconstruct T. And after that, Baxter and Sagart 1998 proposed that prototype voices L, fly, tone A, maybe a long word from Chinese many, and they reconstructed the T prefix to account for it. And then they also argue that the reconstruction T.L could resolve the contradictory, so irregular patterns of the session connections associated with dual. So this is a very nice reconstruction to account for the irregular session connections. And then you can see the Zhengzhang Shangfang, 2003, he reconstructed as kind of delta stop, L plus apostrophe, so kind of position L, 四化 L, to account for the maybe long words from the long words prototype. So basically, I agree with Zhengzhang and the Baxter and Sagart reconstructions. But so regarding the T.L hypothesis, so here's the set of the Baxter and Sagart 2014 reconstruction. So we can find only 7 T.L onset, including T hyphen versus L, T dot hyphen versus L. So only 7. So maybe I think maybe we can propose another new idea to account for it. So so of course, while the T.L hypothesis is highly compelling, but neither Zhengzhang's and Baxter and Sagart's reconstructions appear to be fully supported by conclusive evidence, actually including me. I'm going to talk about it now, but I just want to propose a new idea, so which is contamination of Do and Sha. So contamination is a very a kind of type of irregular sound change frequently observed in Indo-European languages. So I believe you know very much about it. So this is an example illustrated by Hawk, 1992. So Proto-Romance, gravis meaning heavy, the legs meaning light. So gravis changed to gravis based on the contamination. And a very famous example, male, female. So this is the kind of contamination example. So he also further argued that what is interesting about antonyms and the numerals is that they are not only related semantically, but are often uttered in close juxtaposition, as in expressions like, is that person a male or female? So they're juxtaposed in the text. So so-called contamination is also observed in Old Chinese. So for instance, Sang and Si. So based on regular sound change, the onset S dot R in San would have changed to retroflex SR in Middle Chinese, but the word for 3 was contaminated by the following Su and changed to Ximu in Middle Chinese. But I know there are some scholars have opposite idea. So Su was contaminated by 3 because Su was reconstructed like S dot L and then changed to Shimu in Middle Chinese because of the contamination by 3 San. Anyway, so this is an example of the contamination in Old Chinese. So let's take a look at the duo and the shao in the Old Chinese text. So just like the examples found in the European languages, the word for many and few frequently juxtaposed comes together in classic Chinese text and express documents. So you can, as you can see, 大小多少，经书多少，大小多少，以多少为宜，多少多少，速度多少。So they comes together many times. So so this is kind of my hunch, but this juxtaposition of two words, do and shao, might might cause the kind of the contamination. So I reconstruct the word for door like versus L, fly, and then shao is S.TW, and then because they're juxtaposed in many cases, so fly was contaminated by shao and changed to T. So this is my idea. And what interests us is that da and shao are also frequently juxtaposed in the Old Chinese text, as I showed you before. So 大小多少，大小多少. So there are so many examples. So I think so that we can reconstruct the da like 乐部, last, or might be a gu bu, just like Shen Luigi reconstructed the previous reconstruction. So might be these similarity between da and duo both may have led the contamination because it's too similar. Da and duo is similar reconstruction form. So this is my idea about the contamination. And then we can see the competition between shao and gua. So you know, except shao, we have another word for few, which is gua, right? So this is the study by Wang Weihui 老师. So Wang Weihui 2018, he examined the frequency ratio of the shao and the gua. And you can see the word gua was predominantly used during the preaching period. So maybe widely used in the preaching period, right? And then the competition between shao and gua reached its peak in the late warring state period. By the time of the Shiji in Han Dynasty, the replacement of gua and shao was largely completed. So in Han Dynasty, people widely use the word for shao in Shiji. So and he also further noted that in preaching Chinese, both duo gua and duo shao first appeared during the warring state period, with duo shao occurring more frequently than duo gua. So based on the dating, it can be estimated that the contamination of the initial consonant in duo occurred around the preaching period. So from the time when shao began to be widely used. So this is about the competition gua and shao. And then, yeah, and then this is really interesting example for a contracted form of duo. So we can find the contracted character duo in Liu De Guodian bamboo slips. So it's very interesting data. So it's kind of weird. Usage of 多，以义使人多，谓之臣以重视人多，谓之辅以智率人多，谓之辅以信从人多也。So it is difficult to understand the meaning of the duo. So Chen Jian, 2004 and 2019, he proposed that duo might have originated as a contracted form, which is called heyin in Chinese, of zhe and ye. And also Scott Cook, 2006, he also has the same idea about that. And also other, maybe Li Jiahao 先生 and Zhai Yifeng from Zhengzhang Daxue, they also have the same idea, so a contracted form of the zhe and ye. So if this interpretation, in this interpretation, the first character zhe represent the initial consonant in duo because it's heyin zi. And then while the following character ye correspond to its right? So we can, so if the interpretation is correct, the sentence A to 11 could be written as in 8B to 11B. So 为归君以义使人者也 ，so 多 change to 者也 ，and 以重视人者也，谓之夫以治率人者也，谓之夫以信从人者也。So the last year might be redundant, but this is really interesting data. So so if the character do is contracted form of zhe and ye, so we can reconstruct the word for do based on the heyin zi zhe and ye, right? So again, Xiexuan connections. Based on Xiexuan connections, zhe has duan, zhi, zhan, chan, but doesn't have jointly. So we can reconstruct t, or t or zhe, and a ye doesn't have a duan, zhi, zhan, chan, but has jointly. So l, right? So zhe ye reconstructed like ʔl'aal or something like that, and heyin zi changed to dai. So so concerning the contraction of the character zhe and ye, the reconstruction proposed by Zhengzhang Gota stop L apostrophe partition L is likely to be refuted, maybe, and because zhe is derived from the T type. But by contrast, the reconstruction by Baxter and Sagart with the onset T dot L may better reflect this contraction, maybe, right? Try and ʔl'aal, maybe. Yeah, maybe. So I tend to agree with your idea, but yeah, so as shown in the sentence 8 to 11, as the contraction had occurred by the warring state period, so Golden Children must be dated back to the warring state, Zhangguo Zhongqi. So it can be estimated that the process of contamination was already completed by that time, right? So, and as I discussed before, the prototype form of the many, which is believed to be a long word from Chinese, is reconstructed like fly, tong a, because they're all tong a, so we can reconstruct the voiceless L for prototype. So Thai language is likely borrowed the word for many from Chinese languages prior to the warring state period. So before the contamination process had been completed. So this is my idea. So conclusion. So although the word for many has the voiceless dental T in Middle Chinese, but evidence from Xiexuan connections and loanwords in Thai languages suggests that it was originally derived from the voiceless L, classified as the L-type initial in Old Chinese. Based on irregular sound changes, Zhengzhang 2003 reconstructed as partition L, why Baxter and Sagart 2014 proposed the T.L onset as slide. So in this talk, I introduced a new hypothesis or kind of hunch, contamination. So we proposed that the initial consonant of the word for many was contaminated by the initial of the word for few, reconstructed as ʔl'aal, delta stop in the Chinese. And paragraphers have argued that the character duo found in Gordian bundle strips represent the contracted form of zhe and ye. So in this analysis, the first character zhe corresponds to the initial consonant of duo, and the second character ye reflects its rhyme. So as I mentioned above, the same things. So the initial of duo must be identical with that of zhe, t. So yeah, so this suggests that the contamination of duo have already been completed by the warring state period. So here's a kind of chronological stuff. So I reconstruct the word for duo, voices L, and borrow it into prototype, CO voices L, and then contamination happened. So duo was contaminated by shao, changed to T in the warring state period, and then there is example of the contracted form of duo and yeah. And then that changed to L to D in Han Dynasty. So I don't know whether I'm correct or not, but this is a new idea about that. And let's take a look at about the huo. So Xianlui Jing also mentioned about the Yangxiong Fangyan. Oh, 提手旁，扬手翻言，防恶甚多谓之寇，其宋之招，楚谓之计曰火。And so this is a reconstruction form of the Zhengzhang Shangfang and Baxter and Sagart 2014. So as you can see, Zhengzhang reconstructed rounded vowel O because 合口in Middle Chinese. And Baxter and Sagart 2014 reconstructed unrounded vowel for the word war. But in preaching document, we don't have any other example to reconstruct the vowel. So Professor Akitani and Xianlui Jing 2023, they reconstructed the word for huo based on the plot mean and the data of the mean. So here is a set of the mean dialects. So you can see these words belong to gebu in Old Chinese I, and then really beautiful sound correspondences in the Minnan, Mindong, Minbei, and so on. So based on these correspondences, we can reconstruct the proto mean. Also, this is the sorry. So this is proto mean reconstruction. So proto mean preserves the I, right? The identical with the Old Chinese Google I. And then let's take a look at the huo. So in Minbei, they don't use the word for huo, but so Kosa Min, Yanhai Min, they still use the word for huo. So you can see wa 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 and wa 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 and y y y. Wo, right? So we can reconstruct the plot mean y, something like that. So this is the study by Xianlui Jing and Professor Akitani. But interestingly, there is a newly documented Beta Qingxian. So here's the one character. So this character is composed of semantic man and phonetic hua. And hua, so the phonetic hua represents the word huo, and the meaning, right? 众多huo huo. So this is really important phonetic law here. So hua represents the word huo, right? In the two bundle slips, hua only can represent words having unrounded vowel ah. So let's take a look at this. So in 上博初简之一 Hua and Zuo represent the word Guo. And the second Hua represent the word Huo. And based on the Shijing, right, we can reconstruct the and, right, Huo must be So these newly document Beta Qingjian support the comparative work by Akitani and Shen. So I think this is a very interesting data, Beta Qingjian. Yeah, here's the map. So you can download the map. I mean, whole map, Yangshan's map from our website. So if you want, please download the map. And then, yeah, so I don't know. So yesterday, Lohan gave me some advice about the war and duo, whether they cognizant or not. Maybe not, right? So voices L in West maybe changed to Xiaomu, but Huo belongs to Xiaomu in Middle Chinese. So, and Huo is Hekou, and Duo is Kaiko. So maybe not cognate, right? So maybe, but maybe we can talk about this stuff in the maybe after my talk. Okay. So yeah, that's all I have today. Thank you very much.